two giveaways really were the difference there in that first half, because I thought we were doing some really good things. But then we got that takeaway, had a takeaway negated by an offside.
Dillon Gabriel was not better than Shedeur Sanders in minicamp when the rookies was there. He was not better at minicamp or training camp when the veterans was there. He did not perform better than him during the game he was in. And it's time out for people with the cap.
But I do view him as somebody who could position himself to be that QB2. And if he's not in that position, but he's playing well, we know that the reason that would be the case is because they don't want people clamoring for Shedeur Sanders prematurely.
Kevin Stefanski has finally had enough, and it's written all over his face. He's clearly done defending Dillon Gabriel after yet another train wreck of a game.
Very good so far. And this one is picked off and going back the other way. The Eagles, Andrew Makuba. A pick six the other way.
This time, Stefanski didn't sugarcoat anything. He flat out said Gabriel's performance was not good enough, even calling out his terrible decisions in that nightmare of a second quarter. Those weren't just tiny slip-ups. They were game-breaking blunders that sucked the life right out of the offense. You could see the frustration boiling over from fans to teammates. Everyone knew something had snapped. Then came the play that sealed it. And going back the other way, the Eagles' Andrew Uba with the pick six.
When it comes to being a supercomputer, he was only second to Skynet in the Terminator series. He is now capable of sending Terminators backwards and forward through time, waging a war with the Shedeur Sanders fans.
That interception wasn't just a turnover, it was a symbol of everything falling apart. Watching that mess unfold, one thing became crystal clear. Shedeur Sanders is the better choice. Gabriel was out there missing every shot. No touchdowns, no highlight throws, just wasted drives and blank stares. Even with the full support of the first-team defense, he couldn't get anything going. And instead of regrouping, he made things worse. Instead of showing some humility, Gabriel had the nerve to throw shade at Shedeur Sanders, calling him an entertainer, not a competitor. That's wild, especially coming from a guy who just got cooked on the field. That kind of attitude doesn't scream leadership. It screams denial. And now everyone's wondering if Gabriel's even built for this stage, or if he's just another name about to get replaced by the real deal.
Yeah, pleased with Shedeur, pleased with the offense. Again, not perfect, plenty that we can work on, but I thought the guys did a really nice job of Shedeur and operating, the guys making plays. So, again, a ton to teach off of.
Shedeur Sanders. G. Bush didn't hold back for a second. He torched Dillon Gabriel's comments as not just unnecessary, but straight up reckless. For a quarterback hyped up as some kind of Skynet-level processor, supposedly reading defenses like a machine and executing plays with robotic precision, Gabriel looked nothing like that. Instead of proving his talent on the field, he chose to take cheap shots at Shedeur Sanders. And that's where he messed up big time. He didn't just stir up drama, he went toe-to-toe with one of the most loyal and passionate fan bases in football, Sanders Nation. That's not confidence, that's career suicide. But here's the real kicker. All this chaos traces back to Kevin Stefanski. From day one of training camp, he's been blatantly unfair to Shedeur Sanders. The guy was showing flashes of brilliance, dropping dimes, and electrifying practice sessions. But Stefanski still kept him buried on the sidelines, while others got chance after chance. Fans saw it, teammates saw it. Everyone knew Shedeur had something special. Yet the head coach kept pretending not to notice.
And that comes with going up against competition. Of course, second and third units and all of that stuff come into play. When you're the reigning defending Super Bowl champions, had he shown up this weekend and balled out again, playing 45 or more snaps like he did in the first game and putting up similar, if not better numbers, I think that would have boded very, very well for him.
After that first preseason game, when fans couldn't stop talking about Shedeur's potential, Stefanski doubled down on his stubbornness. He stood at that podium talking about how his focus was on developing everyone. But let's be real, it sounded more like a weak excuse to keep Shedeur from touching the field. That's where the real controversy started boiling over. and people started asking hard questions about what's really going on behind the scenes. And now, the latest reports have cranked the tension to a whole new level. Word is, Stefanski isn't even planning to factor Shedeur Sanders into the future of this team. That's wild. After all the hype, all the energy, and all the spark Shedeur brought to the franchise, hearing that he's still being sidelined has fans absolutely stunned and furious. He's the guy who can deliver, and losing that chance is a brutal hit, not just to Shedeur's confidence, but to the entire fan base that's been begging to see him finally take control. It's not just disappointment anymore, it's betrayal. Fans believed this was the moment Shedeur would rise, that the Browns were ready to hand the keys to a young star who could actually shake things up. But if the head coach himself doesn't trust his ability to lead, it sends a dangerous message. It plants a seed of doubt that could grow into something much bigger, a full-blown separation between Shedeur and the franchise. And that seed? It's spreading fast. If it keeps growing, it could signal a massive shift, not just for Shedeur, but for the Browns organization as a whole. Everything about this situation screams one thing. Kevin Stefanski has been trying to choke out the momentum around Shedeur Sanders from day one. Reports even started surfacing that Stefanski himself was behind a shady rumor, a fake injury story. People close to the team said he was pushing this narrative that Shedeur had suffered an oblique injury, and that's when the entire story exploded. Enter Stephen A. Smith, and he wasn't having any of it. He stormed onto his platform and called Stefanski out by name. Stephen A. didn't just question the narrative, he flat out accused Stefanski of fabricating the whole Shedeur Sanders is injured storyline. He said this wasn't about protecting a young quarterback. It was a carefully crafted cover-up to bench Shedeur without triggering a public meltdown from the fans. The sudden talk of this mysterious injury came out of nowhere. No footage, no report, nothing. And Stephen A. wasn't buying it for a second. He went straight for the receipts, pointing to the team's own depth chart as his smoking gun. According to him, that list told the whole truth. The Browns never had any intention of letting Shedeur Sanders climb the ranks. If Shedeur had been allowed to build on the momentum from his earlier breakout performances, there would have been zero justification to keep him benched. But then, right as roster decisions started closing in, boom, the injury news dropped out of thin air. Perfect timing, perfect cover story, and a perfect way to quietly push Shedeur out of the spotlight without sparking a full-blown fan revolt. The driving force behind all of Stefanski's moves came down to one thing: pushing Dillon Gabriel as the so-called hero. But that fantasy blew up fast. Gabriel's performance wasn't heroic, it was heartbreaking. From kickoff to the final whistle, he looked lost out there. No rhythm, no spark, and not even close to the end zone. Even with a stacked first-team defense behind him, he still couldn't find a groove. Every throw looked hesitant, every read was late, and instead of leading the charge, he was dragging the team down. What really stood out were the mistakes, because that's all people remembered. No touchdowns, no highlight passes, just a string of busted plays and missed opportunities that had fans groaning with disbelief. The most confusing part, though, was Gabriel's attitude after the game. Instead of taking responsibility, he acted like nothing was wrong. That arrogance didn't just rub fans the wrong way, it made the whole locker room uneasy. You could feel the tension growing, and suddenly the golden boy Stefanski had been protecting started looking like the weak link everyone else already knew he was. By the time the next media session rolled around, even Kevin Stefanski couldn't dodge the truth anymore. He tried to open his press conference by talking about how the Browns were in a solid position overall, but the reporters weren't buying it. They wanted answers about Gabriel's collapse, and he had no choice but to admit it. Gabriel was directly responsible for 2 critical turnovers, both coming from bad reads and poor decision-making. Those mistakes didn't just cost the Browns drives, they shattered the team's entire rhythm. And finally, the breakthrough moment arrived. Kevin Stefanski publicly acknowledged what fans had been screaming for weeks. Holding Shedeur Sanders back was a mistake. That one admission changed everything. It was like a curtain being ripped open, exposing the truth everyone already suspected. For weeks, Kevin Stefanski stood firm on his claim that Shedeur Sanders wasn't ready. He kept hiding behind excuses, talking about development time, system fit, and even pushing that fake injury rumor Stephen A. Smith had already shredded on live TV. But after watching Dillon Gabriel completely fold under pressure, choking in key moments, and coughing up turnovers when it mattered most, Stefanski had nowhere left to hide. His grand plan collapsed in real time, and everyone saw it happen. By keeping Shedeur off the field, Stefanski didn't just stall the rookie's development, he robbed the entire team of its heartbeat. The Browns were missing that fire, that edge, that confidence Shedeur naturally brings every time he touches the field. Fans could feel the difference from the sidelines. The energy was gone. What made it worse was how clear it had become that Shedeur's leadership and poise could have changed everything. The more Gabriel stumbled, the more the truth screamed to the surface. Shedeur was ready, and Stefanski's stubbornness was the only thing holding him back. The turning point came when even Stefanski couldn't deny what everyone else already knew. The fans saw it, the analysts called it, and eventually, the man himself had to face it. Sticking with Gabriel was a disaster. His gamble to make Gabriel the next franchise leader backfired in spectacular fashion, blowing up both on the field and in the public eye. The locker room morale dropped, the fans' faith cracked, and the entire organization started feeling the weight of one bad decision. Now, there's only one truth left standing. Shedeur Sanders deserves his shot. He's shown poise under pressure, deadly accuracy, and the kind of leadership that can flip a losing culture on its head. For Stefanski, finally realizing that isn't just about saving face, it's about rebuilding trust, both inside the locker room and with a fan base that's been waiting far too long for the real quarterback to step up. Now the real question, where do the Browns go from here? Does Kevin Stefanski finally swallow his pride and let Shedeur Sanders step into the spotlight? Or will he keep pushing a broken narrative that everyone's already tired of hearing? The truth couldn't be clearer. Shedeur has earned his shot. Keeping him benched any longer doesn't just hurt the team, it kills the energy, the chemistry, and the hope that the fan base is barely holding on to. Stefanski knows he messed up. That much is obvious now. But the next move will decide everything. Is he actually going to fix it and let Shedeur prove he's the real deal? Or is he about to double down on another mistake that could cost him his job? Fans are watching closely, and patience is running out. This isn't just about football anymore. It's about trust, leadership, and whether the Browns have the guts to finally do what's right. So what do you think? Is Kevin Stefanski truly owning up to his mistake of holding Shedeur Sanders back, or is he just pretending to take responsibility now that Dillon Gabriel's struggles are impossible to ignore? Do you believe Stefanski's finally ready to give Shedeur a fair chance? Or is this just another PR stunt to keep the heat off himself? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. We need to hear where you stand. And don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more breakdowns just like this. We've got plenty more drama coming your way, so stay tuned and see you on the next one.